and cannot be contaminated. Is there any difference between the sun's reflection in wine and its reflection in the Ganges? Master, with a smile. And about the harmony, how can one realize God through all paths? Ishan, smiling. Both Hari and Hara derive from the same root. Hari is a name for Krishna or Vishnu, any one of those, and Hara is a name for Shiva. So the Vaishnavites and the Shaivites. Both Hari and Hara are derived from the same root, that it's Hri, the heart. The difference is only in the pratyaya, and that is, it's a pun on the word which means both faith and reflection. In reality, he who is Hari is also Hara. If a man has faith in God, then it doesn't matter whom he worships. Master. And please tell us about how the heart of a sadhu is the greatest of all. Ishan. The earth is the largest thing we see around us. But larger than the earth is the ocean, and larger than the ocean is the sky. But Vishnu, the Godhead, has covered earth, sky, and the netherworld with one of his feet. And that foot of Vishnu is enshrined in the sadhu's heart. Therefore, the heart of a holy man is the greatest of all. The devotees were delighted with Ishan's words. Ishan intended to retire to a solitary place and practice a special spiritual discipline of the Gayatri, through which Brahman is invoked. But the master said that the knowledge of Brahman was not possible without the complete destruction of worldliness. Further, he said that it was impossible for a person totally to withdraw their mind from the objects of the senses in this Kali Yuga, when life is dependent on food. That is why the master discouraged people from attempting the Vedic worship of Brahman and asked them to worship Shakti, the Divine Mother, who is identical with Brahman. Master to Ishan. Why do you waste your time simply repeating neti, neti, that means not this, discriminating about what is eternal and what is non-eternal? Nothing whatsoever can be specified about Brahman except that it exists. Whatever we see or think about is the manifestation of the glory of the primordial energy, the primal consciousness, creation, preservation, and destruction, living beings in the universe, and further meditation, and the meditator, bhakti and prema, all these are manifestations of the glory of that power. But Brahman is identical with its power. On returning from Ceylon, Hanuman praised Rama, saying, "O Rama, you are the supreme Brahman, and Sita is your Shakti. You and she are identical. Brahman and Shakti are like snake in its wriggling motion. Thinking of the snake, one must think of its wriggling motion. And thinking of the wriggling motion, one must think of the snake. Or they're like milk in its whiteness. Thinking of milk, one has to think of the color, its whiteness. And thinking of the whiteness of milk, one has to think of milk itself. Or it's like water in its wetness. Thinking of water, one has to think of its wetness. And thinking of the wetness in water, one has to think about water. This primal power, Mahamaya, has covered Brahman. As soon as the covering was withdrawn, one realizes, I am what I was before. I am thou, that art I. Thou art I. As long as that covering remains, the Vedantic formula of I am he, that is, man is the supreme Brahman, does not rightly apply. The wave is part of the water, but the water is not part of the wave. As long as that covering remains, one should call upon God as mother. Addressing God, the devotee should say, Thou art the mother, and I am thy child. Thou art the master, and I am thy servant. It is good to have the attitude of a servant towards the master. From this relationship, the master and the servant spring up other attitudes. The attitude of a serene love for God, the attitude of a friend toward a friend, and so forth. When the master loves his servant, he may say to him, Come, sit by my side. There's no difference between you and me. But if the servant comes forward on his own to sit by the master, won't the master be angry? God's play on earth as an incarnation is the manifestation of the glory of the Chit Shakti, the divine power. That which is Brahman is also Rama, Krishna, and Shiva. Ishan, yes, sir. Both Hari and Hara are derived from the same root. The difference lies only in the pratyaya. Master. Yes, you see, there's only one without a second. The Vedas speak of it as Om, Satchidananda Brahma. The Puranas as Om, Satchidananda Krishna. And Tantra as Om, Satchidananda Shiva. The Chit Shakti as Mahamaya has diluted all with ignorance. In the Adhyatma Ramayana, the rishis saw Rama, and they prayed to him with these words only, O Rama, please do not delude us with your world-bewitching Maya. Ishan, what is this Maya? Master, whatever you see, think, or hear is Maya. In a word, lust and greed are the covering of Maya. There's no harm in chewing betel leaf, eating fish, smoking, or rubbing the body with oil. What will one achieve by renouncing only these things? It was believed that by not doing these small little pleasures like chewing betel leaf or eating fish or smoking, that it made you austere, and so you gained religious merit by that. But I think his point is that you just gain an egotism by that. You just think, oh, aren't I spiritual? What will one achieve by renouncing only these things? The one thing needful is the renunciation of lust and greed. That renunciation is the real and supreme renunciation. Householders should go into solitude now and then to practice spiritual discipline in order to cultivate devotion to God. They should renounce mentally, but the sannyasi should renounce both mentally and physically. I once said to Keshab, how can a typhoid patient be cured if he remains in a room where a pitcher of water and a jar of pickles are kept? Now and then, one should live in solitude. A devotee. Sir, what do you think of the Navavidhan? It seems to me a hodgepodge of everything. He's speaking to that about the Brahmo Samaj here. Master, some say it is a modern thing. That sets me to wondering. Then is the god of the Brahmo Samaj a new god? The Brahmos speak of their cult as Navavidhan, the new dispensation. Well, it may be so. Who knows? There are 6 systems of philosophy. There's considered 6 basic systems of Hindu philosophy. There are 6 systems of philosophy, so perhaps it is like one of these. But you know where those who speak of the formless God make their mistake? It is where they say that God is formless only, and that those who differ with them are wrong. But I know that God is both with and without form, and he may have many more aspects. It is possible for him to be everything. To Ishan, the Chit Shakti Mahamaya has become the 24 cosmic principles. One day as I was meditating, my mind wandered away to Rash K's house. He's a scavenger. I said to my mind, stay there, you rogue. The Divine Mother revealed to me that men and women in this house were mere masks. Inside them was the same divine power, Kundalini, that rises up through the 6 spiritual centers of the body. Is the primal energy man or woman? Once at Kamarpur, I saw the worship of Kali in the home of the Lahas. They put the sacred thread on the image of the Divine Mother. That's usually just for men on the top castes. One man asked, why have you put the sacred thread on the mother's person? The master of the house said, brother, I see that you've rightly understood the mother, but I do not yet know whether the Divine Mother is male or female. It is said that Mahamaya swallowed Shiva. When the 6 centers in her were awakened, Shiva came out through her thigh. Then Shiva created the Tantra philosophy. Take refuge in the Chit Shakti, the Mahamaya. Ishan, please bestow your grace on us. Please bestow your grace on me. Master, say to God with a guileless heart, O God, reveal thyself to me, and weep. Pray to God, O God, keep my mind away from lust and greed, and dive deep. Can a person get pearls by floating or swimming on the surface? One must dive deep. One must get instruction from a guru. Once a person was looking for a stone image of Shiva, and someone said to him, go to a certain river. There you'll find a tree. Near it is a whirlpool. Dive into the water there, and you will find the image of Shiva. So I say that one must get instruction from a teacher. Ishan, that is true, sir. Master, it is Satchidananda that comes to us in the form of the Guru. If a person is initiated by a human guru, they will not achieve anything if they regard the guru as a mere human being. The guru should be regarded as the direct manifestation of God. Only then can the disciple have faith in the mantra given by the guru. Once a person has faith, they achieve all. The Shudra Ekalavya learned archery in the forest before a clay image of Drona. He worshipped the image as the living Drona, and that by itself enabled him to attain mastery in the art of archery. Don't mix intimately with Brahmin pundits. Their only concern is to earn money. I've seen Brahmin priests reciting the Chandi while performing the Swasthayana. It's hard to tell whether they're reading the sacred book or something else. They turn half the pages without reading them. All laugh. A nail knife suffices to kill oneself. One needs a sword and shield to kill others. That is the purpose of the Shastras, the Holy Scriptures. One doesn't really need to study the different scriptures. If one has no discrimination, one doesn't achieve anything through mere scholarship. Even though one studies all the 6 systems of philosophy, call on God, crying to him secretly in solitude. He will give you all that you need. Sri Ramakrishna had heard that Ishan was building a house on the bank of the Ganges for the practice of spiritual discipline. He asked Ishan eagerly, "Has the house been built?" Let me tell you that the less people know of your spiritual life, the better it will be for you. Devotees endowed with sattva meditate in a secluded corner or in a forest, or withdraw into the mind. Sometimes they meditate inside a mosquito net. Now and then, Ishan invited Hazra to his house. Hazra had a craze for outward purity. Sri Ramakrishna often discouraged him in this. Master to Ishan, let me tell you another thing. Don't be over fastidious about outward purity. Once a sadhu felt very thirsty. A water carrier was carrying water in his skin water bag and offered the water to a holy man. The sadhu asked if the skin was clean. The carrier said, "Revered sir, my skin bag is perfectly clean, but inside your skin, there are all sorts of filthy things. That is why I can ask you to drink from my skin. It won't injure you." By your skin, the carrier meant the body, the belly, and so forth. Such a good answer. Have faith in the name of God. Then you won't need even to go to holy places. Sri Ramakrishna sang, intoxicated with divine fervor, "Why should I go to Ganga or Gaya, to Kashi Kanchi or Prabhas, as long as I can breathe my last with Kali's name upon my lips?" Ishan remained silent. Master to Ishan, tell me if you have any more doubts. Ishan, you said everything when you spoke of faith. Master, God can be realized by true faith alone, and the realization is hastened if you believe everything about God. The cow that picks and chooses its food gives milk only in driblets, but if she eats all kinds of plants, then her milk flows in torrents. Once I heard a story. A man heard the command of God that he should see his ideal deity, his Ishtanishta, in a ram. He at once believed it. It is God who exists in all beings. A guru said to his disciple, "It is Rama alone who resides in all beings." The disciple was a man of great faith. One day a dog snatched a piece of bread from him and started to run away. He ran after the dog with a jar of butter in his hand and cried again and again, "Oh, Rama, stand still a minute. Your bread hasn't been buttered." What tremendous faith Krishna Kishore had. He used to say, by chanting Om Krishna, Om Rama, one gets the result of 1,000,000 sandhyas. Once he said to me secretly, "I don't like the sandhya and other devotions anymore, but I don't tell anyone." Sometimes I too feel that way. The mother reveals to me that she herself has become everything. One day I was coming from the pine grove toward the Panchavati. A dog followed me. I stood still for a while near the Panchavati. The thought came to my mind that the mother might say something to me through that dog. You were absolutely right when you said that through faith alone one achieves all. Ishan, but we are householders. Master, what if you are? Through his grace, even the impossible becomes possible. Ram Prasad sang, "This world is a mere framework of illusion." Another man composed a song by way of reply. "This very world is a mansion of mirth. Here I eat, here drink, and make merry." Janaka's might was unsurpassed. What did he lack of the world or the spirit? Holding to one as well as the other, he drank his milk from a brimming cup. One should first realize God through spiritual discipline in solitude, and then live in the world. Only then can one be a King Janaka. What can you achieve likewise? What can you achieve otherwise? Further, take the case of Shiva. He has everything: Kartika, Ganesha, Lakshmi, and Saraswati. Still, sometimes he dances in the state of divine fervor, chanting the name of Rama. Sometimes he is absorbed in samadhi. Oh, and that is the end of that chapter, which is absolutely perfect timing. Okay. Any questions, any discussion, any quandaries? Does Snowy have any questions? Snowy's beyond.
She considers me to be an infidel. I'm merely a householder and she's sannyasi.
Ah, okay. Wrong color.
Well, she has a little orange in her white, by the way.
Okay. Little sannyasa with brahmacharya. Anything else? Any other? Davy Prunted, that makes sense to you?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
It was really good.
You're the one who knows more.
No.
So then, if there's no more discussion and no more questions, Ganga to everyone, wondering how to reconcile it. What Ganga would we reconcile? Which, there's so many things: Brahman and Shakti, householder life, or what part are we reconciling Ganga?
So there's this really, that really interesting analogy that Thakur uses about the servant attitude being the wellspring of all attitudes. It's fascinating because of the specific way that he talks about the king giving permission to the servant to sit by him. But if the servant walks up to the king by the servant's self, it's a little different.
Right.
I was wondering how to reconcile that with Swamiji's appeal to Jnana, with Swamiji's appeal to that kind of
I am the king, right?
Self-confidence type attitude, that kind of I don't know the word, the brazen faith in
jnana that we hear
oneself.
from Swamiji, that
Yes.
I am the infinite. I think what Sri Ramakrishna was saying, the problem with that is that when you say I am the infinite, we tend to identify so strongly with our body-mind complex that we don't think in terms of the Atman. We first instinctively think of the body-mind. And so he said, basically, we have to kind of work up to that state. We can't, because he said, then you use one thorn, then the other, and then you throw both away. But first we have to get out, we got the thorn of ignorance in us first. So deal with that attitude of a child to the mother, a servant to the master, that sort of thing, because that will be more natural to us. It's the more natural way our mind works, rather than I am the infinite. Because if I say I am he, Sri Ramakrishna said, you can't say I am he and then say, what? I've not been pricked by a thorn when your hand is bleeding. You know very well that your hand is bleeding and it hurts. Basically, it's delusion. It's lying to yourself and lying to others to say, no, I'm not bleeding. So I think he was like, you have to do it in a way that makes sense to you. That is where our body and mind things are. And if you absolutely, there can be people with tremendous inner strength, tremendous powers of discrimination and reason, who will cut it through like a knife. But they tend to be more rare than the people who don't. And he was specifically referring to householders because they have to deal with the world. They have to be in the world.
Doesn't Thakur also say
That was extraordinarily helpful. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Amrita's have a question.
I was under the impression several times in the gospel that Thakur says that if you have identify with your body,
Mm-hmm.
you can't practice jnana.
Right.
Is that
Exactly.
correct?
Yeah.
So-
So he said that's the whole thing with like, I can't say that. I can't say that. No, the thorn has not pricked my hand. But yeah, if you are identified with the body, then you can't really do it. There are those people with that stern renunciation, they can just cut through it, but they're pretty rare. And so also remember that when we're reading the gospel, he's talking to his audience. He's talking to the people who were there. And remember that M only went to on Sundays and sometimes on Saturdays, only on holidays. So he was talking to people who were basically householders who were very involved in their families, in their jobs, and everything like that. And they were trying to get out of this suffering, but they couldn't go on and say, I am he, when their whole life was going in a different direction. So rather than saying, I am he and it doesn't exist, it's like, deify what you have right now. Deify. Do everything that you do with the attitude, Lord, you're my master, I'm doing this in this way. I'm doing things. So you kind of change your attitude towards the thing that you have to do with all the time, and do it in an ethical way. Amrita.
Doesn't Ramakrishna also say that bhakti yoga is the yoga for this age?
Yes.
And I think for some people who've been raised in a way where they think devotion is like a lower form of...
A lower form of, yeah.
Of knowledge. Of,
Yeah, I'm too
you know,
smart.
God.
I'm too smart for loving God.
Or they've just got some issues with that.
Yeah, yeah.
What-
Too much of a dualistic background.
Yeah, right. How...
But I mean, Sri Ramakrishna really does emphasize both. Because remember, there's that one part when it says, but Sri Ramakrishna says it's a play of God. And the devotee says, but that play is killing me. He said, but who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you? It's like, oh, okay. I'm not the body. I'm not the mind. It's like, remember who we are. Remember who we are. So he does do that. But really, he's speaking to his audience at the time. But I think in general, it's really quite true that most people aren't up for that sort of thing. I mean, so you have to start where you are and then go to a higher stage. I think that's the best way to reconcile it, Ganga. John.
This may be too long a question we could reserve for another time, but in the reading, evidently the amorphous God and a God with form have to both be worshipped. I have no problem believing God is amorphous and unnamed, but putting a form on it, I'd like to know more about that.
Well, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna is filled with that discussion. M comes in, says that he likes to worship the formless God. That's what his belief is. Sri Ramakrishna said, that's fine, but never for a moment restrict God to that only. God is infinite. God can take innumerable names and forms, and he is formless as well. So Sri Ramakrishna compared that to an ocean where if you go to the northern parts, the ice, which is formless, is condensed into ice. He said it becomes ice through the devotee's love. So for the sake of the devotee, the lovers of God, God takes human form.
And in taking human form, it's not a form of worldliness as in some Maya thing that we're supposed to
Well,
prevent.
it's the power, there's the power of Maya to create. Krishna says that it's through my power of Maya that I create this form. But it's
Okay.
it's the God and his power, that divine Maya. But it's for the sake of bringing wisdom and enlightenment to people. And the Bhagavad Gita says, when goodness grows weak, when evil increases, I make myself a body. And every age I come to deliver the holy, to destroy the sin of the sinner, and to establish righteousness. So it's like that, but that doesn't say you have to worship God with form. It's just what Sri Ramakrishna repeatedly says is, don't think that your way is the only way.
So in other words, don't restrict God, and particularly don't restrict the views of other people, which I have no problem
Yes.
with. And being only a householder, do my job as well as I can, try to get near to God. But as you know, my problem with names and forms, hopefully you got the message I sent to you from the Sun Tzu about that. And thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, I think then that we can give announcements tomorrow. Swami Sumanasananda will speak on Holy Mother in the Eyes of Swami Vivekananda, Part 2. On Saturday, on Wednesday, there will be another reading at 5 p.m. on how a shepherd boy became a saint. And following Saturday, right here, there will be a reading from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Oh no, it'll be Swami Sarvadevananda's weekend then, and there will be a Bhagavad Gita class then. Okay. And yes, that will be the 22nd, so there'll be a Bhagavad Gita class. Okay, and we'll conclude with a chant. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you all for joining. That was fun.